Welcome back. April 21, 2026. Here's the story your team will ask you about today. Sources: Cursor in talks to raise $2 billion plus at $50 billion valuation as enterprise growth surges. Plus a security alert your IT department needs to act on. 10 stories. In our top story this morning, a zero-day exploit is being actively used against real targets right now. Here's what actually happened. Returning backers A16Z and Thrive are expected to lead the round. If you're running the affected software, patching is not optional. Exploit code is already circulating. Apply the patch before the weekend. Threat actors work on weekends. Second story, and don't scroll past this one, attackers are already inside systems. Windows Defender confirmed active exploitation is underway. Here is the full picture. A security researcher published details of 3 security vulnerabilities in Windows Defender and the code used to exploit them. Now, hackers are taking advantage of the vulnerabilities in real-life attacks, according to a cybersecurity firm. If you're running the affected software, patching is not optional. Exploit code is already circulating. Mitigations are documented, link in the description. Implement them now. Here's something that's been building quietly. The breach affecting Nicholas Moore is larger than the company initially disclosed, according to TechCrunch. What we know so far: Nicholas Moore hacked into 3 U.S. government networks using stolen credentials, and then bragged about it and posted victims' personal data on Instagram under the handle at @IHacketTheGovernment. If you have an account with the affected service, change your password and enable 2-factor authentication immediately. Check have-been.com and review which services share your email address. Story 4. This one has longer legs than it looks. Systems are down. Users are locked out. Here is what caused it and when the fix is coming. The details matter here. Kevin Weil and Bill Peebles are leaving OpenAI as the company shuts down Sora and folds its science team, signaling a sharp pivot away from consumer moonshots toward enterprise AI. Every major outage is also an architecture review. What failed here reveals design decisions made years ago. Check your own dependencies on this service and build in a fallback if you haven't already. Last tech story before we shift to security. Make it count. Here is a story that looks routine on the surface. The implications are anything but. Let's break it down. There's a lot more code, but it's a lot more expensive and requires a lot more rewriting. The ripple effects from this story will take time to surface, but the direction is already becoming clear. This one is worth bookmarking and revisiting in a week when the dust has settled. Tech half done. Now the section that costs you if you skip it. The Hacker News broke a story your IT team needs to act on. Let's go. Leading the security section with this, a critical flaw, and it has been weaponized. Here is who is at risk. Here's what actually happened. A recently disclosed high-severity security flaw in Apache Active MQ Classic has come under active exploitation in the wild, per the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. If you're running the affected software, patching is not optional. Exploit code is already circulating. If patching today is not possible, isolate the affected systems until it is. This next one is connected to a pattern we've been watching. A zero-day exploit is being actively used against real targets right now. Here is the full picture. Huntress is warning that threat actors are exploiting 3 recently disclosed security flaws in Microsoft Defender to gain elevated privileges in compromised systems. The activity involves the exploitation of 3 vulnerabilities that are codenamed Blue Hammer, requires GitHub sign-in, Red Sun, and Undefend, all of which were released as 0 days by a researcher known as Chaotic Eclipse. If you're running the affected software, patching is not optional. Exploit code is already circulating. Apply the patch before the weekend. Threat actors work on weekends. Midpoint of the security briefing.
This one's been developing since yesterday. Security researchers have found a flaw that puts standards at risk. What we know so far: the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, has announced changes to the way it handles cybersecurity vulnerabilities and exposures, CVE, listed in its National Vulnerability Database, NVD, stating it will only enrich those that fulfill certain conditions owing to an explosion in CVE submissions. CVEs that do not meet those criteria will still be listed in the NVD,